Hardly.
Nah. Two of the most vocal advocates for criminal justice reform in the U.S. Senate are working across the aisle on a major bill. Senator Paul Rand of Kentucky, Senator Kamala Harris of California co-authored the Pretrial Integrity and Safety Act. It encourages states to do away with the standard monetary bail process as system acts as a disadvantage for lower income citizens and people of color. They have to remain in jail simply because they can't afford bail. Making her first appearance on NewsOne Now TV 1 as a senator is Kamala Harris. How you doing?
Very well, Mr.
Glad to
Martin.
finally get you here.
I am so happy to see you this
Before
morning.
we talk about this here, healthcare. Seriously, we can't have a hearing. We can't even have anything in public. Can we show it on TV?
You know, we had a rally about this yesterday, and it just so happened that we were standing in a place where I was looking at the United States Supreme Court, right? Equal under the law, where we have fought all of those fights about civil rights from Brown v. Board of Education on. And I think one of the things about this healthcare issue that is fundamental is to understand that it's about a civil right. This is a civil rights fight. This is about making sure that all people are treated equally under the law, by the law, when it comes to a fundamental need to have access to affordable health care. And they're playing politics. And you know what is most troubling about what they're doing? Because I've been asking, I'm new to D.C., I've been asking people, you know, we already had this debate. We had this debate a few weeks ago, and they lost because the people spoke, right? In red states, blue states, the people spoke. Why are they doing this again? I've been asking people. And you know what the answer is? Because they're trying to keep a campaign promise. Mm-hmm. So you're going to take health care away from millions, tens of millions of people to keep a campaign promise. Mm-hmm. So, you know, at some point, leaders have to understand you can't have pride associate with a bad idea. It was a bad idea to try and take people's health care away. And the people told you that when it was defeated the last time. But you're going to try again so you can go walk around and say, I kept my campaign promise. It's irresponsible. There's so much work to be done. So we need to fight. And by September 30th, so it's a timeline, it's a short timeline, I'm encouraging everyone to do what everyone did the last time. Tweet, email, call, march, shout if we need to. So we can make sure this is defeated. And you know, the other piece of it that is real is, why was it a campaign promise? Because they slapped the name on this health care policy. Mm-hmm. Obamacare.
Of course. Which is also one of the reasons why I told the president and his people directly, I said, can y'all not embrace Obamacare? I said, guys, the phrase was poll tested and it's meant to be a negative. They're like, well, no, we can turn to a positive. I'm like, no, you can't. I said, because it's reinforcing a negative, and that's why you see people get questioned, hey, what do you feel about Obamacare? Hate it.
No.
But I love the Affordable Care Act.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That's the most maddening thing I've ever seen.
That's exactly right. But this point highlights the fact that what they're doing is not about good policy.
Right.
It's not about the people.
That's right.
It's about still trying to attack a president that they could never come to grips with.
That's right.
A man who they never could embrace as being the president of the United States. And they're still trying to attack him. And he accomplished one of the most significant public policy initiatives this country has seen since Social Security, which was to get that Affordable Care Act passed. There are things we need to do to tweak it, but because they slapped a name on it and they're still trying to take him down, but they're going to lose. They're going to lose. It
was interesting to me when you talk about healthcare, you talk about major initiatives in changing how we view things, criminal justice same way. Like all of a sudden, white folks are dropping dead because of opioid crisis, and now it's a national emergency. Yet, when you look at bail system, when you look at police forfeiture of assets, when you look at these things, unless, and let's just be very honest, unless it affects white America, no real big deal. So when it comes to this whole bail process, this bail issue, how are you also making the argument that this ain't just black folks?
Yeah.
These are also poor white folks in Tennessee and Georgia and Alabama who also are impacted.
So, Roland, I strongly believe that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And in particular, when you're talking about issues that relate to economic justice. And the work that I'm doing to try and reform America's bail system, I believe is, as much as anything, it is certainly a criminal justice issue, but it is an economic justice issue. It's about poor people. It's about the fact that 9 out of 10 people who are sitting in jail awaiting trial are sitting there because they can't afford to write the check to get out, and that's just not right. We created.
And we're not talking about a trial for murder.
Correct. Correct. And we're also not talking about somebody that's been found guilty.
Right.
So they get arrested, let's say for grand theft, and the average bail in America is about $20,000. Well, the average American doesn't have $20,000 sitting around, so then what do? Family goes across, we got to get auntie out. So they go across the street to what's across the street from every courthouse in America, the bail bondsman. Bail bondsman says, I'll give you the $20,000, but you have to put up 10%. That's $2,000. The average American does not have $2,000 sitting around. So what ends up happening? Either she sits in jail for what could be weeks, months, and years waiting trial. If she's a single mother with young children, that means those children are by themselves, or Child Protective Services might come in and take those kids. She may lose her job. Her public defender may come and say, if you plead guilty, you'll get credit for time served and get out. And even if she has a defensible case, she might weigh the options and say, I got to take the plea. I got to get out.
And let's not talk about if you're still in there. Now you also, when you make your phone calls to your family, the exorbitant fees are paying there because the FCC rolled back that Obama era rule, say, oh no, we're going to let y'all charge whatever y'all want to charge.
That's right.
So poor people getting hit again.
But all because they're poor. And the other piece about the money bail system in this country that is wrong, so they have to pay 10% to the bail bondsman. If they show up, they don't get that money back. No. The person who's got $20,000 in their back pocket and puts up the money for bail, if they show up, they get their money back.
That's right.
So there's a premium that poor people pay.
That's right. Hey, Senator, first of all, of course, thank you for this work. How much of what you're doing at the federal level is informed by your work in the Bay Area and then as the Attorney General in California? I mean, are there...
It's greatly informed. I was born in Oakland. I was a prosecutor in the Alameda County DA's office. Then I was elected DA of San Francisco as the first woman of color ever elected DA in the state of California, and then as Attorney General. And I've seen the system from the inside. And I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And I'll also say this, in terms of my work around criminal justice reform, it is motivated by many things, including what's in the best interest of public safety. Because let's be clear about the bail issue. So we're making decisions about who gets out pending trial based on how much money they have, not based on the risk they pose to the community.
Right.
That's not in the best interest of public safety.
That's right.
So it's actually not a smart system either.
That's right.
Unfair and not smart.
So Senator, despite the fact you went to Howard rather than Hampton,
I'm
really
so sorry.
definitely.
And did you see that Howard beat UNLV?
Really?
No, wait.
Set tripping, man. You gotta get them set tripping.
You see my fight? We beat UNLV.
Might need a bond. Might need a bond in a minute, man.
Now one of y'all can do Texas A&M. But don't ask me a question.
All right. So now we appreciate you stepping up on this issue. We heard before black women are kind of trailing in terms of the Democratic Party. There's fall off. In terms of what folks need to do to support your work right now, which is very relevant to our community, what do they need to do? What do you want them to do to be supportive of this?
Call your representatives in Congress, the members of the House of Representatives, your senators, and let them know. Talk to your neighbors about it. Talk to your coworkers about it, about why this is important to any mother who has a son or a daughter who was in the criminal justice system who's sitting in jail waiting trial. This, and again, the point here is my co-sponsor, the person I asked to co-sponsor this with me, is a Republican senator from Kentucky. Republican senator from Kentucky, and his name is Rand Paul. And when I talked to him about what we were doing and I asked him what kind of feedback he's getting, you know what he said to me? Kamala, Appalachia loves this.
Of course.
Because we have more in common than what separates us, especially when we're talking about economic justice issues, and that's what this is. So I would encourage everyone to do that, and then I would just encourage everyone, in particular black women, to stay active, to make sure that people see you and hear you, because that is such an important voice. And we have to keep pushing. We know that. We have to keep pushing. Even if people want to overlook us, even if people don't want to hear from us, we still have to speak and speak up and speak loudly.
Senator, thank you for the work you're doing. Could you just talk a little bit about why you've crossed the aisle and locked hands, and why it's important to work with both sides, both parties, and on an issue so important?
Well, there's one that is just, it's about being pragmatic, which is you can't get any legislation passed without having bipartisan support. So there is the pragmatic piece, but there is, more importantly, the piece that is about just what's morally right, what's ethically right, what's right in terms of understanding who we are as a country. And again, we have so much more in common than what separates us. And there are a lot of forces right now that are trying to divide us. You know, people ask me all the time. I spoke at a high school recently, and they asked me, what are we going to do about a divided America? You know, high school kids who should be open and so hopeful. Right. And I said, you know what, I reject the premise. We are not divided. And I know this for a few reasons, including I talk about it as the 3 o'clock in the morning thought. You know, when we wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, we're all just that thing that has been weighing on us. We never think about that thought through the lens of being a Democrat or a Republican. We never think about that thought through the lens of some demographic a pollster put us in. And it usually has to do with just a few things. Our personal health, the health of our children, or our parents. Can I get a job? Can I keep a job? Can I pay the bills by the end of the month? Can I pay for my student loans? The vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us, and that's the spirit with which I'm approaching this as well.
Senator Kamala Harris, glad to have you.
Thank you.
Look forward to having a longer conversation with you next time.
Me too,
I'll
Roland.
come to your office, I'll bring the cameras, that way make it easier.
All right.
I know you got a meeting to get to.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
You. It's good to be with you.
All right,
Thank you for your voice and your leadership.
All right, we'll keep swinging.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us, he wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no! That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong. He
Unfiltered.
wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.